All right, so now I have both of you on here. So welcome, welcome. So I have my group. Okay, I am not, presentable today. No, I'm just kidding. I am just home. Today is like I try to make Mondays as best as possible my get work done day, no IEP day. But, sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Hi, Nadia. How are you? So sometimes it works out in my favor that I have Mondays to myself and to be able to get work done and that sort of thing. And then sometimes I don't because I am, sorry, I'm flipping through my notes, guys. Because I am, the present levels course, the present levels and goals, where I was actually holding that in person. And to be quite honest, it took all day. All right. It was a course where I started at about 11 and I didn't end until I want to say it was 7. All right. And it was one-on-one with a group of people. And it was just a lot, like me doing it and then wanting to teach so many people. It wasn't working out because I wanted to give you guys that one-on-one. So let me get into that in a second. Post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Okay? My name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks the IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. All right? So I have the group here on my phone, and I have the page here on my computer. Hey, Erin. So Nadia, I am doing good. You know me, I'm going crazy with all the IEPs happening right now, but I seem to function well when I'm going crazy. So, yeah, I have literally the rest of this week IEPs, all of next week, every day, IEPs. It's crazy. This whole month is like crazy. That's why when I said I have 4 spots available, which I now have 3, you want to get that booked now, okay, for the end of May. And we get things in for you so that you're not waiting till Christmas to get your stuff done for next year. You don't not get things done because it's the end of the year because you're worried that they're off for the summer or something like that. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So you don't want to do that. I know that's the mentality of, okay, it's the end of the year. There's nothing I can do until school starts again. Wrong. Okay. So that's why, if you're in a situation where you're like, oh my God, I have to wait, or what if you want ESY right now? Okay. They have to address it. They have to have a meeting with you. All right. But you want to get on it now. All right. So people that I bring in, my 4 people, I'll get an email out to your team now before you and I meet so that they're on it. Does that make sense? So if you're interested, WhatsApp me. Erin will post that for you. Worst case, you can email me, but it's so much easier when you WhatsApp. Okay. So yeah, Nadia, I'm doing good. I spent the weekend with my family. We went to Williamsburg. We went to Busch Gardens, and they had a food and wine festival. We didn't drink wine. We drank beer. And it was fun. We had a good time. So Skylar had fun going on the roller coasters, and we had a good time. So that was that. So post a 1 below, whether you're on the group or on the page, if you're a new person to the group or the page, and tell us where you're from. Okay, post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. You guys know what to do. And for those of you on here who are used to coming on with me live and catching me live, make sure to share this out with everybody, okay? So that they can learn a little bit of something in regards to the science of reading, because to be quite honest, today I was on a call with Linda Mood Bell with a student. You guys know my daughter's there, but, with a student that, I'm very concerned about, this conversation with Linda Mood Bell. Hi, how are you? Hey, Jan. Hi, Inez. Hi, is it Jamad Jama? Am I saying that right? Hey, Bill, how are you? Oh, from Canada. So do you guys even have IEPs out there? Because this is kind of US based, just so you know, because I don't know anything about Canada. Hey, Jan, how are you? Okay, so with that said, just a little bit about, this one student. So I was on a call today with Linda Mood Bell because I wanted to follow up with them because a student a child that I'm advocating for is behind in reading, among other things, and he was evaluated with an IEE at Linda Mood Bell, which I suggested to mom because they're fabulous, and they will get your child evaluated when it comes to reading in such a phenomenal way, and there's no questioning in regards to, it's very black and white, if that makes sense. So there's no like, oh, well, how did my child do? No, it's right there, all right, and tells you too about like what your child's grade level is and then where they're placing. And in the Linda Mood Bell way, all right, it's not like a norm-based assessment where it's where the child falls in comparison to other students. It's not like that. All right, this is where your child falls in accordance to that grade level and what that grade level child, one child, should have learned in that grade level. Does that make sense? So it's very specific, and it even does their grade levels like, first grade, third month. So it would be 1.3, and if it was like third grade, fifth month, it would be 3.5, So it's really cool how it, dissects how your child is and I'm not in Massachusetts. Oh, you're talking about Tamara. Okay. So yeah, Nicole and Tamara, go ahead and chit chat. Tamara's one of my clients, Nicole. She's amazing. Okay. So, and I want you guys to hear today because it's good stuff. Okay. So don't forget, post a 1 below if you're first through third time catching me live. I want to know where you're from. I've worked in 41 states so far. My goal at the end of 2021 is to work in all 50 states. I think I can do it, right? And then I just think it's so cool because I've worked in 41 states in multiple districts. And so I'm really aiming at the 50 states because I just think it's really cool getting to know each state. And, one thing that is important to understand, and I just, oh God, I gotta tell you guys this. I'm so excited. Okay. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Okay, you guys probably think I'm crazy because I'm like, oh, I'm like 43 years old doing all that. Okay, but I'm really excited about this. Okay, so that live I did here on the group where I was like all excited. I had that like makeup on, not my makeup, but it was like from the Facebook Live. And I was just telling you things about me and telling you how I was venting and bitching because I was so irritated at this director of special ed. All right, so here's how my persistence and my craziness works, okay? So some of you out there, especially on the page, the group people, they love me. But my page people don't know me maybe like that. But, okay, so here's where my persistence and craziness comes into play where it's like, okay, I'm really not that crazy, all right? So hi, Charmel, how are you? Hi, Dorothy. Hi, Cheryl. Okay, so I went on live on my group. So you guys on the page, if you want to join the group, it's just put in the search bar, Autism Mama Rocks, the IEP group. Okay. So I went on the group and I was just bitching. All right. And then I did a whole, like, do you want to know stuff about me? I was telling everybody that I'm addicted to Costco and that, Amazon, I should be their like billboard sign and, just little things about me. Okay. Outside of IEP stuff. And, so this director of special ed, I will say him and one other has challenged me past my point of I wanted to like strangle somebody. Not literally, people, but that's how frustrated I was. So, finally, when I get into that pinch of which is where a lot of us moms fall into play, but this is where the persistence helps. Okay. So what I did was I did a little bit of research and I went on COPA. I am very vocal on there. I'm actually going before Congress and the Senate with information in regards to special education, not my situation at all, but special education in a whole, and just advocating for special education in whole and what we need like per idea to continue and to get our kids what we need. All right. So I'm one of those voices. And so, I went on there and I was just kind of, tossing things back and forth with some people. And So this person's in California, and California is one of those states where it's a hit or miss. You know, I've kind of gotten in on the like LA sides, what is it? No, that's San Antonio. San Diego, those areas where this is an area where it's like, who knew that there's like country in California? Okay. So they're very set in their ways, if you will. And so they're very frustrating. And then this other parent is in California as well, and she's down by the border. All right. You know, we're talking to Congress and the Senate. And so, bottom line, he pissed me off bad. And I had to do my own homework to be able to come back at him in a way that would shut him up like that. And boy, did that happen. I mean, we're talking, he wouldn't email me because, you know, when I do the IEP makeover and the whole package that includes everything, including me emailing for you, and you don't have to worry about anything. You get to sit back and just talk to me. I emailed him and he stopped emailing me. He would email the parent, and it was this game. So he'd email the parent would forward it to me, then I would email him, and then he would email the parent, and the parent would forward it to me, and then I would email him. It was like freaking stupid. I felt like I was in high school. And so I actually just talked to some colleagues and some attorneys where we collaborate, you know, on COPA. And, you know, they said something that I knew was there, but I was so pissed off. You know, when you're so pissed off, and this is where I tell you, emotion will get in the way. Hi, how are you? Will get in the way of your thinking. It will cloud your judgment. And if you're in an IEP meeting and you are trying to get out what you know you want to say, you know you're ready, you know what you're going to say, but then all of a sudden you like get into the meeting, whether it's virtual or in person. I always say go virtual all the way because it's so much more convenient and it's your choice. Okay. They have to meet you virtually. Okay. But here's the crazy thing is I lost and see, I'm not perfect. And so I lost my, sense of normalcy, how I do things, not get emotion involved, because pissed off, when you're angry, it's like boxing, right? When you get angry, you lose. You know, you could be the best boxer in the world, but they'll tell you, you know, if your emotion comes into play and you get angry, then you slack off. All right. And so, you know, I had to go regroup because he was pissing me off. And I knew that it was not working. All right. And so we were pissing each other off going back and forth. And so I then went back to him with knowledge I already had, but needed it given to me again. All right. So it's one of those things where I just had to hear it again to say, okay, I know what I'm doing. I got this. So I came back with, you know, the legalities of it. If you don't allow an email, okay, and include, because there's no law, okay, on the district's emailing an advocate. Most do. Almost all of them do. But there's no law on you have to this, okay? But again, all do, okay? But this guy was just being a pain in the ass, and other schools do this too. It's fine, it's whatever. But you have to get past it, all right? And I have to get past it. And so I emailed him and I was just very frank. And I was like, look, you know, you're removing the parent's right to an advocate. You're removing the parent's right for their advocate to have a voice for them. Okay, which you have a choice. It's like, and this is what I had to compare it to. It's like if you speak Spanish or if you speak a different language, you can have, by law, you are allowed to have an interpreter come in and speak for you. Hi, Karina. How are you? Oh, okay. Jamad, you have IEPs there. Awesome. Okay. So when you have an interpreter come in, what do? They speak for you because there's a language barrier. So the same with an advocate, same rights, okay? So a parent can sign a consent form, which I have a consent form, and it says, the advocate can speak for the parent. That doesn't mean the parents don't speak. Believe me, I make sure they do. But at the same time, it allows the advocate to speak for the parent so that a lot of emotion is eliminated from that IEP. And what I always do is I'll defer back to the parent. I'll say my piece so mom hears what I said or dad hears what I said, and then I'll say, "Hey, so do you want to follow that back up?" So let's just take Aaron for example. I'll say, "Aaron, is there anything that you want to say to kind of follow up with what I just said?" So it's kind of a thing that we play with each other. Back and forth. So the parent's voice is there and the school's knowing that I'm speaking for the parent, but the parent is then validating that in the IEP meeting. Does that make sense? Hi, Monica. How are you? So it's interesting dynamic how it works. But anyway, going back to the student, I had spoken to Linda Mood Bell today in reference to his evaluation, which was horrid. I still need to talk to mom about it. But basically the evaluation, the reason why I'm saying, oh, it was horrid is not on the child, on the school. So how do you have a child going into 9th grade? I'm good, have an IEP Thursday. Nerve-wracking. And, how do you have a child going into 9th grade, average level, 1st to 3rd grade? All right, the highest he scored was a 3.5. There was 2 areas that he was 5th grade, but it was kind of, the scales were tipped. So the 5th grade actually basically was a non-existent. All right, because he didn't have one thing, the 5th grade couldn't count because it's hard to explain without showing you the evaluation, which I can't do. So it was one of those things where he did not even have word recognition, all right? But he had fluency is basically what okay. And so all fluency is the ability to read words, but it's not the ability to recognize words, all right? So you can read the word stop. I've talked to you guys. I always use the word stop because it's a safety word. So if you can read the word stop, awesome. S-T-O-P, stop. All right, well, if I don't know what that means, then I'm not going to stop and halt if I'm crossing the street. Or if I said, hey, wait, stop, because something dangerous is going to happen, they're not going to know what that means because it hasn't registered in their brain. So it's cool and all, well and good that you can say the word, all right, but it means nothing unless you can understand it. Okay. So, now I have to go up against the school system to say, because I asked Linda Mood Bell, I said, what is your experience? What is it that you have to bring to the table? And I told him, I said, the reason I'm asking you this is if they say, what's the guy's experience? How does he know we're the experts, blah, blah, blah. Then I need to be able to come back to them and say, hey, this is his experience. This is his background. And then I need to be able to say, and this is the amazingness of Linda Mood Bell. You don't even have to justify what Linda Mood Bell does because they're that amazing. There's nothing out there that disputes that. Nothing. Because they accommodate the child where they are. So the system works because they'll say, oh, we don't follow the science of reading, but they do. Okay, every bit of what they do, but they have their own program, okay, that follows it to a T because he and I were on the same page in the sense of, and my daughter's there, but he follows it in the sense that he's like, the child, is always shown pictures. Stop showing your child pictures when it comes to reading, guys. You gotta stop showing pictures. Pictures are horrible when it comes to reading, all right? It's not like a visual schedule. It's not like that. A visual schedule is an amazing accommodation. But a visual schedule has nothing to do with reading and reading comprehension, okay? So when it comes to reading, remove pictures. If the child is 2nd grade and above, remove pictures, all right? 1st grade, kindergarten, preschool, 100% use pictures, use, PECs or whatever it is that you want to use because kids need to be able to relate and associate and that sort of thing. And they haven't had enough life experience. So it's one of those things that makes sense. But after first grade, no, no, no. All right. You want to 100% have that child look at the words. All right. You don't want to show them a picture and say, so here, for example, I'm going to get ready and talk to you guys about this. All right. So I'm going to talk to you about the many strands that are woven into skilled reading. All right. So I'm going to be talking to you about this. All right. The many strands. All right. Woven in skilled reading. All right. And so if I showed you that picture, then you would read it real quick and look at the picture and try to memorize what it said. Right. Or you're going to take a picture really quick and say, oh, I want to take a picture of that, and like memorize it really quick versus understand what it's saying. All right. So, you know, obviously we're doing it a little bit differently, but with a child, they're going to memorize this picture. Okay, it's a rope, and then I just got to remember background knowledge, vocabulary, and they just start remembering the words word for word versus reading. Okay, they're just going to say background knowledge, vocabulary, you know, like, or it's going to be read to them. And that's a no-no too. All right. So the goal is to help and guide them to teach. Remember, I do, you do, we do. All right, that's across the board. All right, science of reading is I do, you do, we do together. And, you know, we work as a team to get that child gradually, step by step, in the direction of reading proficiency. All right, so let's go back. We went through already in my notes, okay, we went through the power of evidence already. All right, I'm just kind of recapping really quick. Then we went through what is known about the process of learning to read and the development of the reading brain. Remember, we talked about the reading brain. Then we talked about the regions of the brain. Remember, we talked about the phonological processor. We spoke about the orthographic processor. And then now we are getting into the many strands. All right, so we also talked about the theoretical model, which was the decoding multiplied by language equals reading comprehension. We spoke about that too. All right, so, and how the simple view of reading is really, you know, the science of reading kind of thing. So we went through that. All right, so now we're going to talk about the many strands woven into the skilled reading. All right, so when you look at the rope, okay, the rope goes like this in a V. One goes towards language comprehension, and the other goes towards word recognition. Then they're intertwined together. So picture a V, all right, kind of like that. All right, can you guys see me? And then they come together and they woven together, whatever. All right, and so that's how it looks. All right, so in language, you have background knowledge, you have vocabulary, you have language structures, you have verbal reasoning, and you have literacy knowledge. Okay, and then in word recognition, you have phonological awareness, decoding and spelling, and sight recognition. All right, so word recognition is phonological. I can't talk ever. Okay, phonological awareness, decoding and spelling, and sight recognition. That is under word recognition. Then you have language comprehension, which is background knowledge, vocabulary knowledge, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. All right, and then they're woven together, all right, increasingly strategic and automatic. Okay, they just kind of go together, all right? And then that becomes where your skilled reading, fluent execution, all right, and coordination of word recognition and text comprehension come together. So it's kind of like when they're starting to wove together, all right, then they're a little bit loose, all right, they're weaving together, and then bam, when you have skilled reading, they are tight as a knot, all right? And that is skilled reading where they have fluent execution and coordination of word recognition and text comprehension, all right? So that's how that goes, all right? So real quick, I want to talk to you about the sight word reading is not limited to high frequency or non-decodable words, okay? It simply refers to basically as, what would be a good word for it? Like an automatic retrieval of words, okay? With a more conscious attention, all right? So the retrieval of words with a more conscious intention, all right? And then when words are recognized instantaneously, which is the goal, okay, of word recognition, all right? Then readers can focus their attention on constructing the meaning of text, which is comprehension, all right? So moving on to phases of word reading development, all right? So word recognition is the foundation of reading, all right? You got to have word recognition or you're going nowhere, all right? And then all other processes, along with your step-by-step going into reading, is dependent on that. You have to have word recognition, all right? So that's important. So the central focus of this model is that to be able to recognize words by sight, all right, during fluent reading, a reader must master phoneme and grapheme mapping, or the alphabetic principle. Hi, Julie. How are you? Yes, guys, post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie, okay? And if you're catching the replay, welcome. So these phases are not stages, as they are part of the predictable development continuum of reading and the science of reading, okay? So the first one is pre-alphabetic reading. All right, you guys can write these down if you want. So pre-alphabetic reading. The child may use incidental visual clues to read familiar words, but does not yet understand the letters that represent each sound, okay? So incidental visual clues, okay, is not a picture, all right? Partial alphabetic reading and writing. Hi, Lucy. How are you? Hi, Lorena. All right. Okay, I'm getting ready. Yeah. So the child has some letter knowledge. So this is the partial alphabetic reasoning, reading and writing. And that's where the child has some letter knowledge, some, and phoneme awareness, and may represent some letter sounds and words. So they're just beginning to really grasp that, you know, area of recognizing words and then pronouncing them, decoding them in the right way, okay? So the full alphabetic reading and writing, all right, is the child has phoneme awareness, knows basic sound symbol correspondence, and can sound out words and spell them phonetically, all right? So that is the full alphabetic reading and writing, all right? They're understanding this phase of the word reading development. The last one is consolidated alphabetic reasoning, all right, and reading, and that is the child has some sight vocabulary, uses strategies to figure out unknown words. They're decoding, they're breaking them up, they're separating them, they're making sense of them, all right, and may segment words into morphological units because the recognition of words is most automatic. It's mostly automatic, okay? And attention can be devoted primarily to comprehension, all right? So they've kind of got it together and they're focusing now on comprehension, all right? So you guys, do you see how there's a step-by-step here? And the problem with schools, again, and I will repeat this every time, is not so much the teachers, okay? Fault, I should say. Not so much the teacher's fault, all right? So the reason I say it like that is because everybody needs help and support, all right? We all do, in everything, in all kinds of things. We need encouragement, we need care, you know, we need support in different things, just like an accommodation. So when, you know, you're starting out reading and you need to learn this whole concept of understanding and being able to process as you can quickly, just like that, very quickly. That's what science of reading is. You can quickly figure out a word, you know what it means, and you move on. And you're reading fluently. All right. So fluently, where I've talked to a lot of parents, is not, oh, they're just reading, but they don't comprehend squat. All right. That's not fluently in my book or in the science of reading. fluently, reading fluently is they're reading fluently and understanding what they're reading and recognizing what it is that they're reading, what those words mean, how they sound, what their sounds are, what they sound like. Okay, they know how to decode them. Make sure to share this, guys. Share, share, share. All right. So orthographic mapping. All right. So we're going to talk about this. Aaron, you asked about this the other day. So orthographic mapping is the process readers use to store written words for immediate, effortless retrieval, just like I was saying. They have to quickly be able to spit out that word. They know what it means and it's done. All right. So effortless retrieval, and they can spit it out. They know exactly what it means, how it sounds, everything. Okay. It is a means by which readers turn unfamiliar written words into familiar, instantaneously accessible sight words. Does that make sense? Okay. So orthographic mapping essentially explains, okay, how a reader develops sight vocabulary. That's in a nutshell in our baby terms that I like to speak because that's how I understand it. Okay. So if I figure something out and it's all like technical and teacher education wording, I then dummy proof it for myself because it sounds better. So the orthographic mapping process essentially explains how a reader develops sight vocabulary. All right. Readers move from letter sound knowledge, all right, to phonic decoding and orthographic mapping. Okay. And then what happens is this is not, well, first I want to say this is not a visual process. Okay. Nothing in reading should be a visual process, meaning pictures. All right. We don't store and retrieve words visually. That is not part of reading. That is why pictures will screw a child up when it comes to reading. That is one of the many mistakes made. And what I was saying is we all need support. Teachers aren't getting the support. School systems are not purchasing the right programs that are going to support their child. And they're not purchasing the programs that support and align with the science of reading. So if the school systems are paying for these programs and these methodologies that work and that are aligned with the science of reading, then what happens? Our kids are working on, reading programs that suck. All right. Seriously, that's just what it is. They suck. All right. Because if they were great, then more children, more than 40% of the United States would be reading. Something is not working. For some reason, what I don't get is how educators aren't realizing this. Or maybe they realize it and don't care. I mean, I'm trying to figure that part out. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of technical and, remember we were talking about the personalities. I'm a little bit green in that way. I'm an analytical thinker, so explain to me, people, why we are educators. All right, I'm an educator. Educators are teachers. Educators are administrators. Educators are everybody in the educational system. How is it you smart people are not figuring out why 40% of the United States can read? Only 40%. They're really at 30%, but they're kind of, some statistics will say 40%, so let's just go with that. All right. So what I don't understand is when we know it's not working, hi Dinah, how are you? Hi Tess. Why is it we're not changing things? It's kind of like in your IEPs. All right. You have an evaluation. You go to a meeting and you review that evaluation. Seldomly are serious changes made that probably should be made. Why? Why are recommendations not being given to parents? Why are changes not being made because something's not working? I'm a proactive person. If something's not working, damn it, I'm going to figure out what I got to do to make sure it works. That's how you have to be in the education field. What, are you just going to let everything fail because you don't know how it works? You're just going to play dumb? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how it works. So, I just got to move on. Oh, sorry. Or do you push through and figure it the hell out and do what you got to do to make sure that whatever needs to happen happens? I mean, in my opinion, I'm just giving you my opinion. You can take it or leave it. That's lazy. Pure and utter laziness and the lack of wanting to put money and investment into our teachers so that they have the ability to then teach appropriately and appropriate methodologies, for God's sake. You know, I can't tell you, because they get paid if our kids learn or not. Well, here's the thing about teachers, though, Bill, is most teachers do not go teach for the chump change that they teach for just because. Not happening. Because teachers don't make shit. I don't care where they live, they don't make shit. So, in my mind, I gotta say, and this is my hope, and I don't know for 100% if I'm right or not, I don't see a teacher going into teaching to make chump change if they didn't love kids. So for the most part, I'm not saying there's not evil teachers out there. Of course, there's evil everything out there. But I'm just saying for the most part, in the grand scheme of things, I don't believe teachers are out to fail children. I think teachers are not provided the assistance, the support, the ability to hold on to, all right, the materials that they need in order to teach appropriately. So then what happens, guys, this is what you're seeing, Bill, is we, as I'll just act like it was me, all right, as a teacher, all right, even though it's not appropriate, it's human nature. That's right, Dinah. She said, true, teachers don't get paid enough. Right, it's like nurses. They don't get paid enough either, but they do more work than a doctor does. Doctor comes in, to deliver a baby for like 30 seconds, and the nurse is there the whole time. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? Just because you went to school longer, I'm doing more time, So it's like, one of those things where things are a little bit twisted. But bottom line, if teachers were given some training in the science of reading, that's number one, is providing teachers and educators more training in order to be able to teach these things appropriately. I can't tell you how many teachers who are actually transparent in regards to, hey, I wasn't really trained with that. They're taught a little bit about teaching reading and just teaching, of course, but, their whole, our mind, it wasn't built around reading. Our education. Reading wasn't like the sole focus, So, giving teachers the education, the ongoing education, which we all should want and need, right? And then providing them with what they need to be able to provide that education that they're continuing to learn and grow. I mean, we all want to learn and grow, I would hope. But what's happening is teachers are getting pissed off. All right, they're done, they're quitting, they're, frustrated. So that comes out in all aspects, like as much as we don't want to take our frustration out on somebody else, it happens to the best of us. And, then you got to look at on the back end, behind your back, you got administration on their shoulders, giving them shit. Shut up, don't talk, don't say anything to the parent, don't give, if they ask questions, send the email to me. That's what they're being told. So you don't think that's frustrating for them? You don't think that they don't go home at night and are just kind of devastated, and if you will, sometimes, or want to do better or want to, support the parent more, but they just don't know how because they're being pulled in 18 million directions and they're not given the support that they need. That's for the most part. Okay. So let's move on to orthographic mapping. So I feel very strongly about the fact that if teachers were given the, proper ongoing training and the proper materials and methodologies and so forth, that is, for example, just with reading, aligned with the science of reading, we would be in much better shape. All right? The same thing happens with math, Tamara. That's right. All right? All right. So you know what orthographic mapping is. It comes natural. It's like a natural outcome for children when they learn these different effective reading instruction strategies. And once that's in place, they rapidly accelerate their acquisition of sight words. Okay? So that's how that works. So we're going to move on. All right? So what needs to be taught? Right? What needs to be taught? And this has to do with the National Panel of Reading, okay? And it also has to do with, what the science, there's so much science behind the science of reading. And I'm talking about not just science, but the science of how effective it is. But the problem is it's not being done. And we see this, we're in this reading recession, if you will, because kids aren't learning. And the schools, oh, they're progressing. But here's where they're tricking you guys. All right. And this kind of dawned on, it's weird how things dawn on me in weird different situations. Even though I see it when I'm in an IEP, it like doesn't just kind of come to my brain like when I'm on a live sometimes. Is this is what you need to watch out for. Are you listening? All right. Schools will say that your child is progressing. I bet you they are. They are progressing. You want to know how they're progressing? Because they're 3, 4, 5 years below grade level. So they're progressing on whatever level that they're being taught on, which is not theirs. So yeah, they're probably progressing. So if your child's in 6th grade, maybe they're progressing on a 3rd grade level. So the school's telling you that they're progressing. Watch out for that. All right. So, all right, let's move on. So considering the significant evidence on how humans develop as readers, many researchers have sought to answer the question, what needs to be taught? Okay. So the National Reading Panel was convened to review scientific studies, all right, of effective reading instruction and answer these questions, all right? And the panel identified 5 components of reading that are essential and effective when taught thoroughly and skillfully. Remember, I do, you do, we do, which is not how children are taught today. All right? Because in groups, I can guarantee you, go watch your child in a group. Have it recorded. All right? It is definitely not I do, you do, we do. It's look, point to the word, read, 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 read. Okay, read it. Okay, do this, do this, do this. Okay, look at this picture. It's all of that stuff. It is not let me show you what to do, then you guys do it, then let's do it together. It's not like that. There's no transparency. If there's being transparent, they are hiding things. Yeah. Okay. So, the number 1 in the 5 components. All right. Hey, Christina, how are you? All right. Phonemic awareness. Number 1. Write this down. Phonemic awareness is awareness of the smallest. We've talked about this already, so we're reviewing. But we're really getting into the meat and potatoes of all of this. Okay. So phonemic awareness is the awareness of the smallest units of sound in spoken words, phonemes, all right, and the ability to manipulate those sounds. So that is what phonemic awareness is. So when you hear that word, that is the ability to manipulate sound and to understand the smallest units of those words and the unspoken language, all right? So smallest units of sound in spoken words, it's called phonemes, all right? And the ability to manipulate those sounds. So phonemic awareness falls under the category of phonological awareness. You guys have heard these words before, I'm sure, all right? Which includes the understanding, phonological awareness includes the understanding of broader categories of sound, including word syllables and onsets and rhymes. All right, so it's building on sounds and understanding of those sounds. All right, and other categories. All right, so although the National Reading Panel identified awareness as a goal, subsequent research has specifically stated that orthographic mapping has yielded an understanding that phonemic proficiency is both critical and a result of orthographic mapping, and it continues to develop throughout elementary school grades. All right, so they're understanding that phonemic proficiency is both critical and a result of orthographic mapping. So your child can do that and map their words, and they have phonemic proficiency. All right. So they have the ability to understand the sounds, all right, of those words. All right. So phonics. Phonics is a way of teaching that stresses the acquisition of letter sound correspondences, okay, phoneme, grapheme representations. All right. Go back and listen to some of the beginning videos I did on reading, and I give you definitions. All right. And their use in reading and spelling. So phonics is the way of teaching that stresses the acquisition of letter sound correspondences and their use in reading and spelling. So their use of phoneme, grapheme representation. How is that used in reading and spelling? So remember, don't get phonemic awareness and phonics mixed together. One is what the child can do, one is how it's taught. Okay, and how things are taught. So fluent text reading is fluency in reading with accuracy, appropriate rate, and prosody, basically expression. All right, so that's what that means. All right, so vocabulary is the understanding of words and word meanings. All right, and Fontes and Pinnell is shit. All right, like shittier than shit. That's what my daughter was doing, and that is why she's at Linda Mood Bell, because it's shit. I mean, you don't want to get me going on Fontes and Pinnell. All right. All right. How can parents request another evidence-based assessment? Well, Fontes and Pinnell is an assessment. That is a methodology. That is a way in which to teach reading. So an assessment and Fontes and Pinnell are two separate things. Okay, so basically it continues. Let me make sure my notes. Okay. Oh, I skipped over some things. All right, so now we're at vocabulary, which is the understanding of words and word meanings. Comprehension is the understanding of connected text, and it's considered basically an essential element of reading. But it is more accurately the goal, okay, this is what I've been telling you guys, of reading, and the result of mastery and integration of all the components of effective instruction. Does that make sense? So that's why I say to you guys, when you guys come to me and you know you do, oh, my child can read. He can read. He's a really good reader. He is a really good reader. I'm telling you, he is a great reader. He's awesome. I hear him read all the time. He's great. Or she's great. Cool. So why are we talking about comprehension? This is me, all right? This is me to the parent. So why are we talking about comprehension if he's such a great reader? I'm confused. Can you explain that to me? I already know the answer, but I want mom, dad, whoever, hi Dinah, to tell me what their thoughts are, right? Come on, guys. There's a lot of people here on the page and group that has worked with me a lot, right? So how true is that, right? Fluency means 0. All right? If you tell me that your child is a fluent reader, then I am looking at that as your child can read words, they can fluently express their sounds, they can say their sounds in the way in which they're supposed to be said, all right? And they're able to continue that fluency into leading, into understanding that word meaning, the sentences, paragraphs, whatever it is that they're fluently reading, they're proficient readers. All right? They're understanding every bit that's coming out of their mouth. Everything. All right? Everything. Okay? All right. So try not to get those confused. Or if you do explain yourself, say my child is fluent, but he doesn't understand everything, so he's not really reading yet, but he can fluently read words. Say that. Be honest about it. Because when you're transparent about that, then that's when, help needs to happen versus, if you're saying, hey, my child's a great reader, then that's why the school system's saying, yeah, they're making progress. They're going to build on that. They're going to eat that one up. That's why they do, guys. Watch your wording, your verbiage. All right? Your verbiage is so, so important. All right? How you say something. So many times, I'll tell my parents, do not say that. Say it like this, because they're just wanting to go at it, and then it's not said in a way that is really accurate, all right? They're meaning it to be accurate, but it's not accurate in how the school's going to understand it, and they're going to flip it really quick because it's not as accurate as it should sound, all right? So although it was not reported by the NRP, written expression or composition and oral language, speaking and listening, are considered essential components for literacy, all right? And are also, so basically, since the report of the NRP, none of its findings have been refuted, and the evidence has been corroborated and expanded upon. All right? This is key. All right, so it's important basically to recognize that instructional emphasis differs depending on the child's development. All right, so although all these elements are essential in the pre-alphabetic phase, or the alphabetic knowledge, phonological awareness, and oral language, all right, where all that's emphasized, or even the partial alphabetic and full alphabetic phrases, phonological awareness, phonics, word recognition and spelling, that should be emphasized in order to secure the neural connections. Remember we talked about the brain on Thursday? Go back and listen to that. That was, your prerequisite to this. Okay? So basically, that should be emphasized in order to secure the neural connections and free up brain energy for deeper comprehension. All right. Vocabulary and comprehension are taught in all phases. All right, beginning with reading aloud to children until they can accurately read substantive text by themselves. So you know how when your kids are born, you reading and reading and reading, and they go to kindergarten or preschool, you're reading to them and you enjoy, reading to your children. That's why that's so important. So a lot of parents will go, well, I read to my kids all the time, and there's that assumption that, because you read to your children all the time, that they're just going to be amazing readers, and that's not how it works, and it's not your fault. It's just not how it works, all right? Just like riding a bike, reading is not just built into our DNA. It's just not. All right, you have to learn it. It's a step-by-step thing, just like, getting on a bike. You have to get on the bike. You have to learn how to balance. You have to learn all these things. You have to learn how to steer right. I mean, have you ever seen a child try to learn how to bike? It's the most funniest shit ever, because they're like all over the place and they're trying to balance at the same time. But do you see how that works? Do you see how when they're trying to do all of those things, it creates what? Frustration. It creates where they are like, screw this, And what happens when they're trying to steer at the same time that they're trying to figure out their balance? They fall, right? So that's why reading, just like a bike, that's why when your child is learning how to steer, what are you doing when your child's learning how to ride a bike? You're holding them. You're holding them so that they're balanced, so that they can learn how to steer. Once they learn how to steer, then you're like, okay, and then they fall and they mess up and they screw up and they do it again, and they do it again, right? Same thing with reading, all right? They have to have the basics. They have to build upon the basics. And then what do? They learn to read because they're building upon the basis, the baseline of what they need to know, which is word recognition, all right? So vocabulary and comprehension are taught in all phases, beginning with reading aloud to children until they can accurately read substantive text by themselves. So reading with fluency, expanding vocabulary and deciphering ever more complex words through advanced phonemic awareness, all right? And phonics are emphasized in a consolidated alphabetic phase and beyond throughout elementary years. Okay? Does that make sense? So the answer is the same. okay, of how do children learn to read. Cultural, economic, and educational circumstances will obviously affect this. Downright truth, all right? But children, and will affect children's progress, all right? But what they need to learn does not change at all. Each child in every place, no matter where they're from or what they come from, all have to learn the same way. Period. All right? Because believe it or not, culture and economic backgrounds play a huge piece in education. I think we all know that, but that is just straight up fact. All right? So that's an important thing to keep in mind, and it's important to understand, but it's something that you don't want to hang on to. You want to focus on getting your child to learn to read by someone who's proficient and teaching them how to read in the right way. Okay? So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to kind of put it all together, all right, and how the instruction should work, all right? And then we're going to move on to what words say. All right. It was some research I had done, and it was genius. I love it. You know, I love doing research. I love learning more and more and more. And I'm certified in Orton Gillingham, and an amazing way to read. And as I said before, structured literacy and that way in which to learn to read is phenomenal, as long as who is teaching that child how to read is going step by step and not rushing it. All right. And is continuously taking steps. The first step, let the child, acclimate, become proficient, move to the next step. Acclimate, become proficient, move to the next step. All right. So that's how that should work. And so I'm going to give you so we're going to put everything together of what we just talked about in this series 1 and 2. We're going to wrap that up tomorrow. All right. And then we're going to start more things on reading. That's why this series is huge, because there's so many different aspects and things I want you to learn so that you have the background knowledge, you have the understanding of what each thing means and the definitions of them, and are able to properly articulate your own words when you are then describing them and presenting them in an IEP meeting. And guess what you will be doing? All right. Teaching them. Guarantee it. All right. And very rarely am I argued with when I start preaching the science of reading. All right. Because they can't argue it. They can't. And if your child is showing significant progress or significant regression or significant gap, okay, from grade level to where they are now. Hi, Nan. How are you? It is crucial to start knowing this stuff. And if you're in a position where you're like, okay, I'm learning this stuff, I can't wait any longer in learning this, that's when you want to contact me. All right, to get it done. Let's get your child what they need, and then you continue to learn so that ongoing you can advocate. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I need help right now. My child needs help right now. I don't have time to learn all this stuff, even though I want to educate myself, but my child needs help like right now, and I don't want to go through the 2021-2022 school year where my child is not having anything changed in their IEP until December, because you think that you have to wait until August or September when school starts. Then you have to, ask for an IEP meeting. Then you have an IEP meeting. Then things change. And I mean, you never want to have just a one and done. That's crazy. I always have 3, if not more. The first one is talking about the evaluations that I want done. The second one is reviewing those evaluations. The third one is creating and developing the IEP, and sometimes that's 1 or 2 meetings. All right, but if you're going to a meeting and thinking that you're preparing all great and putting an IEP together in one full swoop, not having anything new or accurate other than their observations to put into the present levels, I'm going to tell you right now, you're crazy. Stop doing that. That's why IEPs are failing our children. The point of the IEP is for it to help our children make progress, not to fail them because we're unable to understand how we need to put it together. All right? It takes a lot of time to put an IEP together. It is a lot of work to go through an IEP literally page by page, sentence by sentence. Period. All right? Period. I go through each and every sentence. I have them change how those damn sentences are written. They hate that shit. And I'll even have them read it to me because I want them to hear what they wrote. All right? There's a purpose to that. There's a reason. I have a reason that I have them read stuff. All right? There is what do I say? I have a method to my madness, kind of crazy. But no, I had a psychologist the other day, last week, read a 36-page evaluation to me, word for word. Oh, she was pissed. But I did it on purpose. Number one, because she had a bad attitude when she first came on. All right. And the reason she had a bad attitude, from what the mom said, and they have more history than I do, is the fact that this is the psychologist who is used to running the meeting. She's the one who's used to being in charge. Well, because I came in, I deal with the director of special ed. That's who I deal with. All right. I will talk to the service providers. I talk to the psychologist. I talk to all of them. But the psychologist doesn't work directly with the kids. Why would I talk to you? All right. But the director of special education is in charge of everybody. So she can go dictate to everybody what happens. All right. And I'm telling you, I get them moving. All right. They can hate me all they want. I don't care. Bring it on. Hate me. If I'm getting a child what they need, shit, hate me all you want. I want you to hate me. I want you to run for your lives when I come do an IEP in your area. All right. You don't want me there. You don't want parents to have to call me. All right. I'm talking to people on the page, and I don't know if there's any administrators on my group, but it's true. I don't want to have to fight the way I do for children because the administration and the school systems want to be so stupid about it and set in their way. Oh, we don't do that here. Well, you're going to now. All right. Those are the things you got to say. Surprise them. All right. You want to leave your school district with your mouth wide open. Think about it like that. You need to say things that impact them where their mouth is wide open. Like, did she just say that? Not nasty. You're not saying, hey, you're a big dummy. No, that's not what I'm saying. All right. You're attacking somebody. That's not what I'm saying. You don't have to attack someone to make a point. Okay. You can make a complete and utterly amazing point that shuts things down like that without attacking one person. All right. But here's the funny thing. All right. And I know my parents can attest to this. I'll be in an IEP. All right. I got to plug this in. Hang on one second. I'll be in an IEP meeting. All right. And so I'll start advocating, all right, for my kiddos, right? And the school system. Here, let me plug you guys in. All right. So I don't know if I can I turn you? Can you guys, am I going to be sideways or something? Oh, shit. Hold on. All right. Can you see me now? All right. Hold on. It's going to like slide and all kinds of stuff. Did I like hang y'all up? Okay. Y'all still there. Okay. Let's see. All right. It's going to like, hold on. All right. Are y'all charging now? Let's see. You guys should be. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. All right. So here's the deal. I think I'm going to have to hold it. Okay. So here's the deal. Is you want school systems, all right, to, if they hate you, they hate you. Who cares? All right. But you want them to realize, you know how people say about me, what do they say? I'm not mean. I'm just no bullshit. That's it. All right. Because, and I've always said that. It's unfortunate, but you have to be who you're not to get things done. All right. Just like one of my friends posted, one of my parents, what did she post? I posted it up here. She goes, if I haven't offended you yet, I will soon, or something. It's posted on the group or the page. I don't remember, but it's funny because it depends on them. on if I come at them in a pleasant way or if I come at them in a not so pleasant way. All right, but when I come back at them, it is always stating facts, and it's always stating things that are going to turn them around because they know that I'm not playing. All right, it's things that they have to do. Now, if they're right about something, okay, cool. But if they're being obstinate and rude and disrespectful and not wanting to work with parent, not wanting to work with the advocate, just being jerks, then we're going to play ball. But if you want to work with me and work with the parent and say, okay, this parent hired an advocate, okay, we need to get on the ball and just suck it up, then that's when, things can go smooth, But when school systems are just like, it's like pounding a wall because they're not wanting to work with you and give in and kind of, if you will, in their minds, they probably are thinking showing weakness, which is not showing weakness. It's actually, believe it or not, showing integrity. All right, so when school systems realize they did something wrong, an advocate comes into play, and they actually do a 180 and turn things around and make things better, that's showing integrity, not weakness. Do you agree? So for the school systems to fight it because they feel like it's showing weakness, that's actually not true at all. So I hope school systems change their attitudes and how they approach something, because that is going to be how they think about something. How their attitude is how they're going to react. And so once their attitude changes, so sometimes you have to give them the attitude adjustment, right? So when you have to give them an attitude adjustment is when they're not liking you too much, But if you are able to just work fluently and good together, then it's a good thing. So I will talk to you guys soon. Tomorrow we are going to put it all together and how instruction is super important and how that instruction is. Okay, thank you for joining me on the page, on the group. You guys are amazing. Make sure if you are catching the replay or anything else, post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Share this, guys, okay, because other parents really need help when it comes to reading. Reading is the number 1, math is the number 2. And so it's so important for us to get reading out there and how it should be taught. Because if we blow this up in our school systems, they're going to have no choice but to change. And that's what I'm here for. I want to make that change. I want change. I want the school systems to start doing things right. Not doing things in a political way, not doing things in which they're going to save money, not doing things that are status quo, if you will. I want them to do things in a way that's going to meet a child's individual need, no matter what that is. There doesn't have to be a status quo. There doesn't have to be a set way. There doesn't have to be something that is dissected into a plan of action. That's why I tell school systems, screw your damn agenda. I don't give a rat's shit about an agenda. Because I'm coming to that meeting, I'm going to talk about what I got to talk about, period, no matter what you got in that agenda. So that's why a meeting notice is so important. Make sure your meeting notice has the things that you want to talk about in the meeting notice, or the school can shut you down. They can say, oh, that's not in our meeting notice. That's not what we're talking about. So always look at that meeting notice. The importance of a meeting notice is crucial. I will talk about a meeting notice in a single live, but it's important. Okay, so if you know that, okay, I'm going to talk about evaluations and what evaluations I want to have, so that's my first meeting, and I'm going to talk about the parent concerns, okay, then have that in the IEP meeting notice. Okay, and if you're going to go over evaluations, say meeting 2, you're going to go over evaluations, talk about the needs, present levels, concerns, etc., have that in your meeting notice. If it's not legally, per idea, the school can shut it down. They can say, no. It's in the meeting notice that we're just going to talk about, the assessments. Or it can say, no, we're just going to talk about the ARD, or the read, all right, their observations. So, it could be something that you totally, we're not going to talk about, but that's what they put in there, and it is what it is. There's a lot of times schools will, I'll sum up with this, there's a lot of times schools will try to throw an annual IEP meeting into a different type of IEP meeting. Don't let them do that. The IEP annual meeting is a standalone, all right? just like a review of evaluations is a standalone. Just like the triennial should be talked about in the annual, unless it's like 6 months, 9 months, whatever down the road. Then why would you talk about it 6, 9 months in advance? That's stupid. All right. So you want to make sure that things are talked about within a certain time frame. I always say 60 to 90 days. You know, if you're going to have a triennial, you talk about it 60 to 90 days in advance, because that child could be different from 60 to 90 days in advance to 9 months earlier. It's crazy. Don't let schools do that. They do that shit on purpose. All right, out of laziness, out of not wanting to meet with you again, whatever the case may be, because you'll ask for another IEP meeting because you want to go over, you know, the triennial and have it wrapped in your head and understand exactly what it is and all that, and that stupid paper that they send you a consent form that isn't supposed to even be sent because it's not even per idea and it's illegal, but they send it anyway and you're supposed to sign it and you really don't have to sign it, but they say you got to sign it. That is because really the only thing they got to provide is a PWN. You guys talk about the evaluations, you agree, they provide a PWN, they do the evaluations. You technically do not have to sign a consent form. Do you know that? I think I told you all that. All right, guys, have a wonderful night. Message me if you need me. I think Erin posted the WhatsApp information on the page and on the group, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye. Let me push on the group. Okay, I push on the group. Bye, guys. I'll talk to you soon.